I'm 65, and I have made a decision that might seem controversial to some. I have chosen to keep my distance from certain neighbors and even some relatives. Hello, friends. Today, I wish to share with you a very personal and perhaps polarizing choice that I have embraced at this stage of my life. I have deliberately decided to avoid deep engagement with some of my neighbors and relatives. And while this may sound unkind or harsh to those who value constant connection, I have come to understand that not every relationship or connection is worth the emotional energy it demands. Please allow me to explain the reasons behind this decision, as well as the wisdom I have gained over the years. If you find value in this video, I kindly ask that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, turning on notifications so that you never miss an update. 1. Time becomes more precious at 65. At this point in my life, time feels like a treasure that I hold more tightly than ever before, for its value has increased immeasurably with each passing year. There is a remarkable clarity that accompanies age, a blend of urgency and calm acceptance that teaches you the true worth of every moment. I have come to realize that the hours I once gave away so liberally to obligations that drained me, to conversations that held little meaning, to people who did not truly appreciate my presence, are no longer negotiable. In these later years, time is no longer merely a resource. It has become the very essence of my existence, and the way in which I choose to spend it determines the level of peace and fulfillment I experience every day. I often look back and wonder how much time I allowed to slip away during my younger years, consumed by a sense of duty or burdened by guilt. I recall the endless favors I performed for neighbors who rarely reciprocated, the family gatherings that were more about obligation than genuine joy, and the casual acquaintances with whom I exchanged words that filled the silence but never truly connected with my heart. In those moments, I failed to see the true cost I was paying. But now, at 65, the lessons are unmistakably clear, and they have fundamentally altered the way I approach every interaction. Time has taught me that not all relationships are of equal value. Some infuse our lives with meaning and warmth, while others only drain our energy. I have learned that saying no is not an act of selfishness. It is a necessary practice of self-preservation. Declining an invitation to an event that I know will leave me emotionally exhausted, or choosing to step away from a conversation filled with negativity, is not an act of exclusion, but a deliberate act of honoring myself. I now understand that protecting the limited time I have is essential to living a life that is rich with purpose, and that every moment I can serve is an investment in my own well-being. 2. Boundaries are essential. Over the years, I have come to appreciate that boundaries are not merely suggestions or guidelines. They are lifelines that protect our inner peace and define the quality of our relationships. At 65, I no longer feel compelled to justify or explain the boundaries I have established. They exist because I have earned the right to live my life according to my own terms, shaped by decades of experience, heartbreak, and hard-won wisdom. In my youth, I mistakenly believed that being available to everyone was the epitome of kindness. I thought that offering my time, energy, and emotional space to anyone who requested it was both noble and expected. However, that constant availability came at a significant cost. I did not realize then that every time I said yes to an obligation that left me feeling drained, I was in fact saying no to my own needs. Over time, this imbalance left me feeling exhausted, disconnected from my own desires, and ultimately longing for a greater sense of control over my life. It was then that I discovered the transformative power of setting clear boundaries. These boundaries did not materialize overnight. They were the result of years of introspection, missteps, and the courage to assert my own worth. In the beginning, setting boundaries felt almost selfish, as if I were turning away those in need. A relative demanding too much help or a neighbor expecting endless conversation. However, I soon realized that saying no was not a rejection of others, but rather a profound act of self-respect. I was not closing doors. I was intentionally opening space for the experiences and people who genuinely mattered to me. I have learned that boundaries are not about isolating oneself. They are about carefully selecting the connections that nurture the soul. They allow you to define what is acceptable in your life and what is not out of anger, but out of a deep love and respect for yourself. For instance, I now find it acceptable to politely step back from individuals who seem to thrive on spreading gossip or negativity, to limit my time with relatives whose presence brings more drama than joy, and to choose only to engage with neighbors who respect the sanctity of my personal space. These choices have not always been simple or free of conflict. Some people have misunderstood my actions or even resented my newfound insistence on personal space. Yet at 65, I no longer feel responsible for managing the emotions of others. My responsibility lies solely with me to ensure that my days are imbued with peace, joy, and fulfillment rather than stress and conflict. I no longer experience guilt when I protect my time and energy. Instead, I feel empowered by the clarity that comes from setting and maintaining boundaries. I have also learned the art of communicating my needs clearly. I can now say no without apologizing, express my boundaries without hesitation, and gracefully withdraw from situations that no longer serve my well-being. Although I wish I had embraced these lessons sooner, I find solace in the fact that it is never too late to learn how to honor oneself. Every boundary I enforce reinforces the belief that I deserve respect from both others and myself. The beauty of having well-defined boundaries is the freedom it provides. I now have ample room in my life for the things that matter most, whether that means spending quiet afternoons immersed in a book, enjoying meaningful interactions with loved ones, or simply sitting in the garden, savoring the silence. My days are no longer dictated by external demands but by my own choices, which are rooted in purpose and joy. At this stage, I have come to realize that every moment is precious, and the boundaries I have set ensure that I invest those moments wisely. These boundaries are not walls built to keep others out. They are selective gates through which only those who enrich my life may enter. With each decision to uphold these boundaries, I am reminded that I am worthy of peace, happiness, and genuine fulfillment. I have learned that boundaries are essential because they empower us to shape our own destinies, to choose what aligns with our values, and to have the courage to let go of that which does not serve us. At 65, I now view boundaries not as limitations, but as one of the most valuable gifts I can give myself. A gift of peace, clarity, and the freedom to live authentically. 3. The truth about neighbors. At the age of 65, I have come to understand that living in close proximity to someone does not necessarily equate to living harmoniously with them. Neighbors are, in many ways, enigmatic figures. They are individuals whose lives run parallel to ours, sharing the same streets, the same seasonal changes, and even similar views from their windows. Yet, despite this physical closeness, the depth of connection can often be surprisingly shallow, or in some cases even burdensome. I have discovered through my own experiences that cultivating relationships with neighbors requires a level of discernment that sometimes exceeds even that required for family or friends. There was a time when I believed that being a good neighbor meant obliging every request, engaging wholeheartedly in every conversation, and making myself available at all hours when someone knocked on my door. I felt that participating in every neighborhood gathering and offering my time unconditionally was not only expected, but also a mark of good character. However, as the years passed, I began to notice unsettling patterns. Not every neighbor respected personal boundaries, and many interactions left me feeling depleted rather than enriched. I observed that some neighbors thrived on idle gossip, transforming trivial occurrences into dramatic spectacles of speculation and judgment, while others seemed to assume that my time and attention were inexhaustible resources available at their whim. There were also those who consistently exuded negativity, who appeared to relish the opportunity to complain and stir up unnecessary drama at every encounter. At 65, I simply no longer possess the emotional reserves to be drawn into these dynamics. I have come to realize that being neighborly does not require sacrificing one's own peace. It is entirely possible to be cordial and polite without compromising your personal well-being. I have learned the delicate art of maintaining a respectful distance, smiling and offering a simple greeting when our paths cross, yet gracefully excusing myself when conversations begin to veer toward topics that drain my energy. I have mastered the art of polite detachment, acknowledging the presence of others without feeling obliged to allow them unfettered access to every aspect of my life. One of the most liberating insights I have gained is that I am under no obligation to justify my choice to spend my evenings quietly at home rather than participating in every neighborhood event. If I choose not to answer the door when someone arrives unannounced, I am not being rude. I am simply protecting the sanctity of my home, a sanctuary where I can find the peace, recharge my spirit, and create the moments of joy that sustain me. This is not to say that I harbor ill feelings toward all of my neighbors, or that I have isolated myself completely. On the contrary, I still welcome and enjoy genuine exchanges with those who respect my boundaries and share similar values. I have come to appreciate that the most authentic connections with neighbors are those that are mutually respectful and uplifting, and such relationships are rare and must be nurtured carefully. I have also discovered the profound value of solitude, the peaceful satisfaction of sitting in my garden early in the morning, watching the world awaken without the compulsion to engage in conversation. These quiet moments have taught me that I do not require constant interaction in order to feel connected to the world around me. The truth about neighbors is that they, like all other people, come in various forms. Some bring joy and positivity, while others test one's patience or overstep boundaries. The key is to approach these relationships with clear intention and self-awareness. At 65, I no longer feel compelled to conform to society's ideal of what a good neighbor should be. Instead, I focus on staying true to myself and cultivating a life that is peaceful and fulfilling. The wisdom that accompanies age has taught me that it is not selfish to prioritize my own well-being, and it is neither unkind nor irresponsible to withdraw from relationships that do not contribute to my happiness. These choices are acts of self-respect, forged from a lifetime of learning what truly matters. At this stage of life, my primary focus is on living each day with intention, joy, and a profound sense of inner peace. 4. Family isn't always easy. With advancing years, I have come to accept one of the most challenging truths, that family, while often a wellspring of love and support, can also be one of life's most complicated and demanding relationships. At 65, I have learned that the bonds of blood do not automatically ensure understanding, respect, or kindness. This realization has been both liberating and deeply painful, compelling me to re-examine my familial connections and redefine what family means to me. In my younger years, I clung to the belief that familial obligations should always come first, that the ties of kinship were inviolable, regardless of the personal cost. I maintained these bonds, even when doing so meant sacrificing significant parts of myself. Over time, however, I came to see that these relationships could sometimes be more burdensome than nourishing. Family gatherings that were once anticipated with joy often turned into arenas for old conflicts to resurface. Phone calls intended to offer comfort would sometimes carry unspoken demands, criticism, or complaints. Gradually, I began to recognize how much of my energy I was depleting in an effort to uphold connections that did not reciprocate genuine care. Admitting that some family relationships had become toxic was incredibly difficult, for there is an ingrained sense of duty that tells you family should always come first. I have felt that guilt on many occasions, that inner voice whispering that I must never abandon my kin. Yet, over the years, I have come to understand that being related by blood does not grant anyone the right to hurt you, to manipulate your emotions, or to drain your vitality through unreciprocated care. Respect, trust, and love are not automatic. They must be nurtured and mutually shared in order to be meaningful. At 65, I have chosen to prioritize my own peace over the unyielding expectations that family should always take precedence. This does not mean that I have completely severed ties or that I hold resentment. Rather, it signifies that I have set clear boundaries to protect my emotional well-being. If a family member consistently brings stress and negativity into my life, I choose to limit my interactions with them. If a conversation invariably leaves me feeling diminished, I allow myself the grace to disengage. If a relationship shows a lack of respect for my time and values, I accept that it is time to let it fade. This process has not been easy. Releasing even a part of what I once considered sacred has been a painful but necessary act of self-care. Although memories of shared celebrations, laughter, and milestones linger, I have found that there is an immense sense of liberation in recognizing that I am not obligated to maintain relationships that harm my well-being. I have learned to cherish the family members who consistently bring light into my life, those who listen, support, and genuinely care, and to cultivate relationships with chosen family and friends who have become as dear, if not dearer, than blood relatives. I have also discovered that stepping back does not mean withdrawing entirely. Rather, it means engaging in family interactions with greater discernment and compassion. I no longer feel compelled to partake in every gathering or to resolve every dispute. Instead, I honor my own needs, and I allow those around me the space to grow and change without forcing a connection that is no longer mutually supportive. The clarity that comes with age has taught me that pleasing everyone is an impossible task, and that my own mental and emotional health must come first. I no longer chase after approval or cling to relationships that leave me feeling empty. Instead, I focus on the connections that enrich my soul and add genuine joy to my life. 5. The joy of solitude. At 65, I have discovered that solitude is not a state of loneliness, but rather a precious gift to be cherished and nurtured. It is a quiet haven where I can reconnect with my innermost self, free from the incessant noise of the outside world and the relentless expectations of others. In my younger days, I often mistook solitude for isolation, believing that constant interaction was the only measure of a fulfilling life. However, with time, I have come to appreciate that true solitude is not about being alone, but about finding a sanctuary within oneself, a space where one can simply be without pretense or obligation. I now see solitude as a deliberate choice, one that allows me to recharge my spirit and to contemplate the aspects of life that truly matter. There is immense beauty in the stillness of the early morning as I sip a cup of tea, in silence while the world slowly awakens around me. There is solace in the gentle rustle of leaves as I tend to my garden, or in the soft strains of a favorite song that plays quietly in the background as I reflect on the day. These moments of solitude have become integral to my daily existence, serving as gentle reminders that life's true treasures are often found in its simplest, most unadorned moments. Embracing solitude has also helped me to discern which relationships truly nourish my soul and which ones I can let go of without regret. It has imbued me with the confidence to seek fulfillment within, rather than relying solely on external validation. I now take great joy in spending time with myself, for it is in these quiet moments that I discover my true essence, free from the roles and expectations that have defined me over the years. This joy of solitude is a profound lesson that I wish I had learned sooner, but I now embrace it wholeheartedly as a source of strength and inspiration. 6. Selective relationships are healthier. At this stage in life, I have learned to embrace the power of choice when it comes to the relationships I cultivate. I no longer feel compelled to hold on to connections solely out of a sense of duty or nostalgia. Instead, I focus on nurturing relationships that are mutually fulfilling and that add genuine value to my life. In my younger years, I often believed that being everything to everyone was a virtue, a sign of kindness and generosity. I stretched myself too thin, trying to meet the expectations of friends, family members, and neighbors alike, often at the expense of my own emotional well-being. With the wisdom that comes from experience, I now understand that not every relationship is worth the investment of my time and energy. Some connections serve their purpose for a season, but they are not meant to last indefinitely. Being selective about the people with whom I spend my time does not mean that I have become cynical or withdrawn. Rather, it is a conscious effort to conserve my energy for those relationships that truly uplift and inspire me. I now actively seek out bonds that are built on mutual care, respect, and support. I have learned to let go of relationships that consistently leave me feeling drained, recognizing that it is far better to have a small circle of genuine, meaningful connections than to be surrounded by a multitude of superficial acquaintances. This selective approach has allowed me to cultivate a social circle that enriches my life, providing a reservoir of strength and comfort during both joyous and challenging times. 7. Protecting your peace. In my journey through life, I have come to regard protecting my peace as a fundamental guiding principle, one that I am committed to upholding no matter what. At 65, I understand that true peace is not a byproduct of external circumstances, but rather a state that I must consciously cultivate and defend. Life is replete with factors that can disrupt our serenity: conflict, negativity, and the relentless pace of modern existence, to name a few. For much of my life, I allowed these disturbances to intrude upon my inner world, believing that it was my duty to manage every source of stress. However, I have since learned that true peace must be actively guarded. This means making deliberate choices about the people I let into my life, the activities I engage in, and the thoughts I entertain. I have made a commitment to say no to anything that threatens my emotional or mental well-being, even if it means declining invitations or stepping away from certain situations. Protecting my peace is not an act of isolation. It is an intentional effort to create an environment where I can thrive and experience genuine contentment. I now fill my days with activities that nurture my spirit, whether it is reading, taking leisurely walks in nature, or simply enjoying quiet moments of reflection. I surround myself with those who inspire me and with beauty that uplifts my soul, and I refuse to let the chaos of the outside world disturb the sanctuary I have built for myself. At 65, I recognize that protecting my peace is one of the greatest acts of self-love I can practice, for it ensures that I remain true to myself and that I invest my precious time in pursuits that bring lasting joy. 8. A final thought on choosing to avoid certain neighbors and relatives. Choosing to avoid certain neighbors and relatives is not an act driven by bitterness or anger. It is an expression of self-respect and an acknowledgement of what is necessary for a happy, peaceful life. At 65, I have come to see that genuine happiness often arises from simplicity, a life with fewer conflicts, fewer obligatory engagements, and more time dedicated to those relationships that truly nurture my spirit. If you find yourself leaning towards solitude or becoming selective about the people you allow into your personal space, know that you are not alone. This choice is not one of selfishness, but rather an essential form of self-care. In my experience, placing a premium on my own well-being has allowed me to live more authentically, to protect my energy, and to embrace a life defined by quality over quantity. I have learned to forgo certain social interactions that, while expected by tradition or family norms, do not contribute to my overall sense of peace. I now focus on fostering relationships that resonate with my values and that bring genuine joy and support into my life. In doing so, I have discovered that my days are richer and more fulfilling when I choose to invest my time and energy selectively. This clarity has been hard-won over the years, emerging from moments of solitude, reflection, and the difficult process of learning to value my own peace above the constant pull of external expectations. I share this final thought with you, in the hope that it inspires you to evaluate your own relationships and to make choices that honor your true self. 19 Slow living habits that simplified my life. As we journey through the various stages of life, especially after the hectic pace of careers, the challenges of raising children, and fulfilling an array of responsibilities, many of us begin to wonder, what truly matters? How can we slow down and savor the remaining moments, rather than constantly chasing after things that may not bring us the lasting peace or deep fulfillment that we yearn for? Over the years, I have discovered that embracing simplicity, living intentionally, and adopting a slower pace can lead to a more meaningful life, particularly for those of us in our later years. Here, I share 19 habits that have helped me simplify my life and find a greater sense of peace and presence. Although these ideas might appear small on the surface, their cumulative impact can be profound when embraced as part of a more intentional way of living. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe and enable notifications so that you never miss an update. 1. Take 5 minutes of reflection. One of the simplest yet most profound habits I have embraced is to take 5 minutes of quiet reflection each day. In a world that constantly urges us to be perpetually busy, setting aside this small window of time to simply sit with my thoughts has become a stabilizing anchor in my daily routine. There is something incredibly special about allowing yourself to pause and let your mind wander freely, without any particular agenda or purpose. For many of us who have spent decades immersed in work, raising families, and juggling numerous responsibilities, that few quiet minutes become a precious gift. a way to reconnect with our inner selves. At this stage in life, having accumulated so much wisdom, reflection transforms into a means to harvest the lessons learned over the years. These moments also offer an opportunity to contemplate the many blessings, whether they are grand or modest, such as gratitude for a grandchild's radiant smile, the comforting warmth of a sunny day, or the steadfast love of a dear friend. Those 5 minutes serve as a reminder of what truly matters. The habit of reflection is not about forcing a blank mind, but rather about letting your thoughts settle like fine dust after a storm, until the truly important matters gradually rise to the surface. 2. Create device-free spaces. Today's world is inundated with noise, much of which emanates from the devices we carry everywhere. Our smartphones, tablets, and televisions have become constant companions, however they often act as barriers that separate us from the inner peace we crave. One of the best decisions I ever made was to create device-free zones within my home. Areas where the television remains off, the phone is left in another room, and I can be fully present for myself. These designated spaces include my bedroom and dining room. In my bedroom, I have discovered that I sleep more soundly without the constant distraction of screens, and waking up without the immediate urge to check my phone allows me to ease into the day with greater clarity and intention. Similarly, a dining room devoid of distractions transforms into a haven for meaningful conversation, whether during a shared meal with loved ones or during quiet moments of personal reflection. As we age, establishing these device-free zones becomes even more vital. They serve as a reminder that the tangible world, the one we can see, touch, and experience without the mediation of a screen, is filled with beauty and connection. Such spaces become sanctuaries where one can fully engage with the present moment, liberated from the incessant pings and interruptions of technology. Though it is a small adjustment, the creation of these areas can substantially enhance the overall quality of our days. 3. Drive the speed limit and enjoy the journey. There was a time in my life when I felt compelled to hurry everywhere, driving from one appointment to the next and rushing to complete every task. However, I have learned over the years that life is not a race, and there is immense value in simply slowing down. One small yet significant way I practice this is by consciously driving at the posted speed limit. Although this may sound trivial, intentionally decelerating has become a powerful reminder to savor the journey, both while on the road and in life overall. When one ceases to rush from one destination to another, the world around becomes far more noticeable. The gentle filtering of sunlight through tree branches, the rhythmic patterns of people engaging in their daily routines, and the quiet, fleeting moments that might otherwise go unnoticed. These subtle details become far more vivid when one is not caught up in haste. For older adults who may no longer be pressed by the same time constraints as in their younger days, this habit is particularly rewarding. It encourages us to appreciate the beauty inherent in every moment and to be fully present in our daily experiences. The next time you find yourself behind the wheel, consider obeying the speed limit, not solely as a safety measure, but as a deliberate strategy to reconnect with the world around you. 4. Take the longer line. In a culture that prizes speed and efficiency, it might appear counterintuitive to deliberately choose the longest line at the grocery store. Yet this seemingly small act is a way of practicing patience and embracing the slower pace of life. For me, it has become a gentle reminder that not every moment needs to be rushed, and that sometimes waiting can yield its own set of rewards. Standing in a lengthy line provides an opportunity to observe the world with a fresh perspective, to witness the kindness of a cashier, to note the subtle interactions among people, or simply to appreciate the rare, quiet moments of pause that are all too scarce in our fast-paced world. It is also a chance to relinquish the desire to control every minute of our day, and to accept that a few extra minutes in line will not detrimentally affect the broader picture of our lives. As we grow older, we gradually come to understand that life is not measured by the speed at which we move, but by the quality of the moments we experience along the way. Choosing the longer line, in its own small way, is a practice in fully living each moment. 5. Prioritize time with family. There is an enduring wisdom that accompanies age, And one of the most important lessons I have learned is that time spent with family is absolutely irreplaceable. The truth is that our relationships with our loved ones, be they our children, grandchildren, or dear friends, represent the most valuable assets we possess as we mature. These bonds take on even greater meaning as we reflect upon the fleeting nature of time and the